Hey y'alls, it's Simon and welcome to my channel. This is my first ever video, so that's very exciting. And to start things off, I'm going to be breaking down all the movies/TV I watched in the month of February. The array of movies I got the chance to watch this month were also very exciting because we're finally going to award season this year and I've got some potential nominated movies to discuss. Before we dive into the video, please subscribe because I'm planning to post weekly, if you know what I mean. And I'm planning to do videos all about film analysis and basically everything that I just want to talk about, okay? It's honestly up to me because it's my fucking channel, whatever. So yeah, stick around. To kick off the Valentine season, I watched the highly anticipated movie Malcolm and Marie, directed by Sam Levinson. I thought Euphoria was an exceptional show full of striking visual storytelling. And come on, look at Zendaya, she's like the coolest person ever. So coming into this movie, I had some pretty high expectations and they were met to an extent. For those who don't know what Malcolm and Marie is, it is a movie about a couple that just went home from a movie premiere and their relationship was tested when Malcolm, the leading man, left out Marie, his girlfriend, in his speech. From there, we watched the background of their relationship unfold through monologues of arguments and madness. For a story so focused on a relationship, but yet it's so anti-love story, the movie touches on a lot of very interesting and nuanced commentaries on both sides of the equation. I loved how they talked about how time is a common factor in a relationship. They know that one day they will not be together, so why give them the credit for something so important? All of these conversations are so cool to have, plus they highlighted the theme of critics. For school assignment, I had to write out an essay exploring how labels constrain understanding. By the way, I know it's so lame to bring up my school essay, but anyways. As an example, I wrote about how Sofia Coppola had her fair share of injustice with the critics, knowing that a lot of her works are criticized as movies too pretty looking or female targeted, even with one critic literally saying that her movies are for the girls and the gays. I know, that's nasty. This literally discards Coppola's other messages such as self-destruction, loneliness, and female imprisonment. Now this goes the same with Malcolm's storyline. He made a movie about a girl trying to overcome her drug overdose, yet the critic decided to focus on the politics behind the filmmaker for being a new black talent. This upsets him because this completely discards his ideas and messages from his work. Now interestingly, this is even reflected in the backlash behind Sam Levinson for this movie. Malcolm and Marie is being criticized because this seemed like an opportunity for Levinson to express his anger towards the critics because of an article LA Times wrote about this other movie, Assassination Nation. To add to that, critics also shamed this movie for doing this through black frustration. First of all, it is clearly stated that Zendaya and John David Washington, two black actors, are producers on this movie, which means they had a voice in storyboarding it. Second of all, what's wrong with Levinson expressing his thoughts? You know, there's a saying, tell the stories you know, and that's exactly what he's doing. The way that most people are hating this movie because of the filmmaker's background instead of the story's problems is very unfair in my opinion. Anyways, I do have some problems with this movie though. I believe the pacing in this movie is a little bit too repetitive. They didn't need to be constantly monologuing throughout this movie. We could have them easily do things such as like playing cards or something, and that could have easily illustrate how they are trying to play this game in this relationship to win. Instead, the transitions throughout scenes just felt the same every time. Malcolm says something stupid and nonsense. Marie goes outside to smoke and enters back with his speech. So overall, this movie does have structure issues, but considering the interesting commentary and stellar performances, like, man, if you thought Zendaya was already amazing in Euphoria, she turned up to an 11 in this one. This movie is literally insane. Promising Young Woman is a movie directed by Emerald Fennell, which is a revenge fantasy about a young woman, Cassandra, who seeks out to teach a type of man a lesson after being traumatized by a tragic event in her past. I thought this concept was genius, and this movie delivers such an unpredictable and nail-biting story. Like, I was on the edge of my seat throughout the second half of this movie. Carey Mulligan is terrific in this role, like, oh my god. At first I was like, oh my god, this actress looks so similar to the girl who played in The Great Gatsby, and turns out they're the same person. I literally thought they were two separate different people until I googled the actress, and that's kudos to Mulligan. I thought her character was super annoying in The Great Gatsby, but in here, although she's despicable, she still came off as devilishly likable. Bo Burnham is also in this movie, and even though I didn't care for his movie 8th Grade, he did such a good job in playing such a complex role. The script is also so strong. Like, there are so many one-liners where I was like, okay, damn straight. And without spoiling the movie, the message here is so strong. Mulligan's Cassandra is like the female Joker or a female Christ figure. You will definitely be surprised with what they have in store if you have not seen it. However, the problems are unfortunately very noticeable in my opinion. First of all, there are so many tonal shifts that it gives you whiplash in the middle of watching it. A lot of people thought it was such a unique narrative, but I think it made it kind of confusing with what the movie is trying to say halfway through. I also didn't like how the first half was directed. It was weirdly slow paced. Like, I was watching this movie with 2 other people, and they slept a little bit after the opening credits. The movie also didn't do anything particularly inventive or new with its visuals and production design, which is sadly also the culprit for making the first half quite boring. With that being said, if you love a good revenge fantasy, you're in for a treat in the second and third act. It is oh so good. The ending is known to be very divisive, but I personally loved it. If you haven't watched it, I think it's very important to give you a heads up that you gotta be very open-minded. To sum it all up, this is a perfect movie to get cuddled up with in your bed during a rainy season. Plus, I know that Mulligan lost over Andra Day for Best Actress in the Golden Globes, but if Mulligan doesn't get the Oscar this year, we will riot. I just wanna get high. Next, I watched the third and last installment in the To All the Boys trilogy. Listen, I was one of those people who enjoyed the first one. It was very self-aware that it was a cutesy rom-com, but this one felt super not grounded. I still feel like these rom-com stories don't deserve a trilogy. I think they can just stand by their own, or a duology at least. I used to be in love with this book series called the If I Stay book duology, and it was because each book mattered and they complemented each other. So overall, it felt like a complete narrative. In this one, I didn't think the second one came into play to affect the story at all. However, with that said, this one is way better than the second one though. The second one just felt super unnecessary and redundant. This was just such a missed opportunity though. Considering that this was their final hurrah, they could have done something more interesting in this one. It could have been more intriguing to see this one play out through 2 perspectives, Lara Jean and Peter. And we could have seen them going through their own path in senior year, possibly finding themselves, which could have been an understandable reason for their departure, because I felt like Peter's story with his dad was so shoehorned in this movie and felt so out of place. Instead, they went with this lazy narrative which was so cliche and something they've been doing all along. This ending was also so corny and super unrealistic. I can just imagine this being the next glossy fantasy of what graduating looks like for some 13-year-olds. But hey, on the other hand, I gotta give points to the movie for possibly giving their target audience what they want. Because I saw some of my basic cast friends literally head over heels with this one, so that's saying something. Darling, I told you many times. Now this is a perfect movie. This is probably my favorite movie this year so far. Nomadland is a movie about a woman, Fern, who after losing everything in the Great Recession, embarks on a journey through the American West, living as a van-dwelling modern-day nomad. Chloe Zhao killed this movie. Not only did the girl direct it and write it, but she also edited it as well, which is amazing on her part because the movie just flowed so beautifully and hit all the right notes perfectly. It felt so raw and real and felt almost like a documentary. I liked how Zhao touched on this particular subject matter because previously I didn't even know the nomads existed, which made this movie important in a way because she touched on an issue that is very eye-opening. It was also so cool how Zhao got some real-life nomads playing as themselves and recounting their past experiences. Frances McDormand is terrific as always, and where I felt 3 Billboards kinda went off the rails in the third act because her character there ended where she started, that issue isn't present here because she has a good character arc which made the movie very satisfying. This movie also looks super gorgeous. I heard this was playing on IMAX and that would have been such a cool experience. You have no idea how happy I was to know that this won Best Picture in the Golden Globes because finally they chose the right winner. And I also can't wait to see what Zhao has coming up in her sleeve because she'll be directing Marvel's upcoming Eternals, baby. Here we go, ladies and gents, an A24 release, yay! I was super excited about this movie ever since the trailer came out, and I definitely loved it. This movie was so full of heart and charisma. I liked how it was directed and written. The movie definitely looked very refreshing. I heard that this was actually kind of an autobiography of the filmmaker's childhood coming into America, and I liked how he made it very personal and true. A minor problem that I would like to point out is probably how the movie was marketed. This movie's message was supposed to be about the American dream, but I didn't really see that because we found out that the family didn't actually directly move from Korea. They were actually from California. So yeah, I didn't see them actually leaning into the Western culture or trying to achieve something so American because they were trying to build this agricultural business farming Korean vegetables. I could see how the Western theme was touched on the young boy storyline, which was just pointing out how he despises Korean culture because he grew up having Western beliefs, but that was just about it. A better way to illustrate this movie is honestly just about a family trying to understand the language of love rather than the language of the American lifestyle. However, with that said, the performances were really good in this movie and I love seeing the dynamic between the young boy and his grandma because I find this super relatable since I grew up really close with my grandma, and I also want to point out that that's actually a common thing in Asian families. So yeah, I highly recommend people for giving this a go. Tenet is the new film directed by Christopher Nolan. I actually got the chance to watch this movie in a theater and that added something to the movie. I haven't really gone around to watch Nolan's other films other than Interstellar and his Dark Knight trilogy, but by comparing them to this, this doesn't go as near as good as them. But with that said, Nolan, why do you do this to us, man? This movie, of course, is confusing at times, and I actually catch up at times, but if you're watching this movie at home, you will get a good use of the backward button, because he only explained things once for some reason. I literally don't know what was going on in the last 10 minutes of this movie, to be honest. The characters also felt very cardboard cutouts. They didn't have unique personal traits whatsoever. On the other hand, Robert Pattinson did as much as he could with a character that could have been so bland, and Kenneth Branagh playing as a villain was super corny and one-layered. In my opinion, Elizabeth Debicki was the only one who got the chance to make an impression. Moreover, the editing in the first half was super choppy and weird. However, the last half was super exciting and the action scenes were actually pretty cool. The use of music was also strange at times, but was certainly unique. But if you're bored and looking for some action blockbuster that would leave you searching for any explained videos afterwards, maybe you should check this one out. Anyways guys, that's it for today's video. February was actually a good month full of solid movies, as you can tell. Make sure to subscribe because I have so much more coverage for you guys. I know that this month the Snyder Cut is finally coming to HBO Max and I can't wait to uncover that. And plus, the Oscar is coming and that'll be very interesting to see how that one turns out. Make sure to follow me on all my socials and I'll catch you guys later. Bye!